morning, and thank you for tuning in to the Andrew Tate Show, brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. We've got a great show for you guys today. We're going to be covering the ACC filing a countersuit against Clemson, Conor McGregor and Michael Chandler to return to the UFC. Also, we will touch on the UFC antitrust settlement. Then we will discuss France plan to start Wembanyama, Embiid, and Gobert for the 2024 Olympics. And then, as always, at the end of the show, we'll be diving into the oddities of the day. Before we start, I'd like to ask that you guys like and follow the show. Also, we get a number of questions from viewers that come in during the show, so to ensure that your question gets read on the air, I ask that you use the tips and donation link with your question. The tips and donation link is gsmcpodcast.net. This puts your question at the top of the list so that I can see it, and it also just really helps the show. Woo!
Only thing I was going to correct on your intro is that Conor McGregor and Michael Chandler are returning to the ring. They're not returning to the UFC. They've always been the UFC. That's the only thing I would change.
Excuse me. Sorry.
Other than that, flawless as usual, even though the start of our day is not flawless.
Rough morning, guys.
Today
morning,
is brought to you by technical issues.
Yes.
First, Faith jumps on, and she's having all kind of issues with her computer. We finally fix Faith's issues, then yours truly start having all kind of issues with his computer. Therefore, we're starting off a little later and a little rougher than normal.
We're making up for Monday because we didn't have any technical issues on Monday, and I feel like Monday is always our day to have an issue, and Monday went swimmingly, so we're making up for it today, I feel like.
Yes. So we didn't even have we normally have a little conversation before where I was joking with Faith about the fact that she knows more about college football than most people on her campus would know because of all the crazy drama that goes on. And then the football gods just froze her camera up and would not let her respond to me whatsoever about that.
I've been having some issues with the Wi-Fi because the Wi-Fi went in and out yesterday too. After the show. It was after the show, thank goodness. But so I had to.
Are you guys having crazy weather? Is it anything like that?
No. It's the company that we do it through, and I think eventually we're going to move away from that company.
We're not going to say any company's names on air unless they're cutting us a check. They don't get their name on air.
Yeah, no, I'm not going to name drop them, but I think eventually we will switch to another company for Wi-Fi.
Wow.
So,
and yesterday when we were doing the show, I have a giant window in front here that my walls are glass, so I can see through our office all the way to outside. And we don't live that far from the beach. We don't work that far from the beach. So the ocean is 100 yards away. So when we were doing our show, I kept eyeing over there, and it was sun was beaming. People were in swimsuits and everything. And I'm like, ooh, it's going to be a nice day to go outside and get me some sun yesterday. The minute that we ended our show, and I'm like, oh, I'm going outside. Clouds came in, the wind came in off the ocean. It was dark, and it's been dark and gloomy the rest of the day, and it's dark and gloomy today. All I've been wanting was a little bit of sun. Instead, it's freezing. It's freezing here. For me, it's freezing. It's 61 today and gloomy. I need my sun, or I'm not the same perky guy.
Yeah.
All right. What about you guys? Georgia, what's the weather? You probably are warmer than we are right now.
Yesterday was actually a lovely day. Today, you never know with Georgia. Georgia likes to pick and choose how it feels that day. Because a couple weeks ago, the weather was absolutely beautiful. It was in the 70s and 80s with like a slight breeze. It was wonderful. And then it rained, and then it was really gloomy and cold all last week. And now I think it's starting to warm up again. But the lovely pollen is dropping, so...
I don't miss the
pollen
allergies.
season.
I do not miss all the allergies that go on in the US, man. That one,
Yeah.
that would kick your butt.
Mhm.
I do. You don't get it. Like there's a little bit of that. You have a little bit of allergies, but nothing like you did, like I did in the US. It's crazy.
Pollen's
So
awful. Hate it.
it's a necessary part of life, though.
Yes.
And the ecosystem, it's kind of
Hmm.
important. Plants need to be pollinated, but not our noses.
Yes, I agree.
So we're on the same page. All
Yeah.
right. What do you have for me today, Miss
Alrighty,
Faith?
guys. New stuff has dropped in the divorce court of the ACC and Clemson, and I guess FSU, but this is more about Clemson. So yesterday we talked about how Clemson filed a lawsuit against the ACC for grant of rights, and now the ACC has filed a countersuit against Clemson. So after Clemson filed a lawsuit against the ACC calling into question the conference grant of rights and exit fees, the ACC is fighting back. Per The Athletic, the ACC has filed a countersuit against Clemson in a North Carolina court. In its lawsuit filed in the Court of Common Places in Pickens County, South Carolina on Tuesday, Clemson called the ACC's withdrawal penalties unconscionable and unenforceable per ESPN's Pete Thamel. The conference also believes its grant of rights would allow it to continue to own Clemson's media's rights even after it leaves, which the university called a nonsensical reading, wrong, and inconsistent with the plain language of that agreement. However, the ACC is arguing that Clemson took part in and voted for the increase in the exit fee, which Thamel noted was cast as $572,000 million in Florida State's lawsuit against the conference. The ACC is also countersuing Florida State over the same issues. The ACC also contended that Clemson originally sought to work with the conference and avoid going to court in the wake of Florida State's lawsuit. While it has indicated that the ACC a desire to engage in productive conversations, it was actually finalizing it and preparing its lawsuit, seeking to file first in South Carolina, the lawsuit reads. So, I mean...
Go ahead, Faith. You want to go first? Go ahead.
ACC's just not backing down, man. They got
I don't blame them.
four different...
They have no choice.
Yeah. 4 different lawsuits, though, in 3 states. 3 separate states.
I find, first off, the ACC had to file that countersuit. I understand why they filed the countersuit.
Mm-hmm.
As I learn more about this whole situation, first off, the ACC has to do their countersuit because they're trying to keep the ACC together.
Right.
They don't want to blow up like the Pac-12.
Mm-hmm.
So the only way to prevent from getting stomped on is to fight back.
Mm-hmm.
That's the key. But I find it fascinating that Clemson is taking a totally different approach than Florida State. They're not joining Florida State's lawsuit. They're like, oh no, we got a whole different conversation going over. Florida State is saying, listen, we signed this grant of rights, but the old commissioner wasn't negotiating in good faith. He was more concerned about taking care of his son and other things instead of what's best for the schools. Mm-hmm. And because of that, we should be allowed out of our granted rights. That's kind of the core gist of what Florida State is saying. Mm-hmm. Clemson, I don't quite know what their thought process is on this one. They're saying that, hey, yeah, we're we have a granted right, but if we decide to leave, then this contract is just for if we're in the ACC. If we decide to leave, then there's no more rights to be granted. And so we have the right to leave whenever we want to. No one on the planet has looked at the granted rights in that way. It is saying that this contract is strictly for if we're in the ACC and our ESPN contract, but if we decide to leave, then we can leave without having to pay anything. That's false. I don't know. I don't quite know how they plan on winning this, but it is a very unique way of looking at things. I don't understand as I listen to more and more about what Clemson is trying to do, it doesn't make sense, especially when the ACC did the right thing on the filing. Like, hey, they knew about this. They took part in putting together the granted rights. They took part in upping the fees for leaving and being a part of this. They had votes and they voted all the way through. And now they're saying like, oh no, this is not what this contract was meant to be. When the ACC is like, listen, we were lockstep this whole way through until they weren't happy anymore.
Yeah.
So I don't know if Clemson is looking at this as we're going to approach a different way, or there's a strategy. Florida State's going to go at it this way. Clemson's going to go at it this way, and hoping that one of these two judges rule in their favor. Because if one of the judges rules in their favor, then it eliminates the granted rights, especially Clemson's. I don't think Clemson's lawsuit stands a chance because Clemson, the way Clemson has gone at their lawsuit, would send shockwaves through college football altogether. Because if a judge rules that what Clemson is trying to say, let's say a judge rules that's correct, guess what? The SEC's granted rights no longer applies. The Big Ten's granted rights no longer applies, because if a judge rules that, yes, that's exactly what it says, then Ohio State can say, well, we can leave the Big Ten because our granted rights just gives you the rights to us as long as we're in the Big Ten. But we've decided to leave Michigan, Alabama. It opens up all kinds of issues. I don't know if a federal judge would sit down, look at what Clemson is trying to say, and look at the ramifications of, hey, we're going to rule in favor of Clemson, but the cascade effect that it will happen if they ruled in favor of Clemson, because it would make all granted rights contracts not enforceable. At least with the FCC, I mean, with Florida State, FSU. Florida State is saying, like, listen, yeah, we entered into this contract, but we didn't have all the information. We didn't realize that the old commissioner was really trying to take care of his son and trying to get his son a job. And he was more focused on what was best for his own personal side of things than what was best for the teams. And that's the reason why we need to be out of this contract. So if that's the case, a judge could rule in favor of Florida State and say, Florida State is correct. The ACC's granted right was not negotiated in good faith, and it's null and void, without it wreaking havoc on the ACC, the Big 12, the Big 10, and everywhere else. That's why I look at the Florida State one, who Florida State has been like the crazy family member,
Yeah.
is actually, to me, this is my my perception of the two lawsuits, actually has more valid reasons. I feel like Clemson is just saying like, nope, that's not the way it was. Even though we took part in negotiating, we took part in writing this, we voted for this, we knew what this was saying. They're saying, no, it doesn't say that. And I don't know how they're going to win it except for bogging the ACC down with agreements or hoping that they're going to get a very friendly judge in Pickens County. Also, Pickens County, is there a law in the South that every state in the South must have a Pickens County? There's Pickens County in South Carolina, in Georgia, and Alabama.
I didn't know there was one in Georgia.
And so I'm like, I don't know if it's like a state law that everybody has to have a Pickens County or something like that. I don't know. But but anyway, back to the main point. That's my take. I'm very curious to see what's going to happen with this. I don't see this lasting long. I see by the time football season kicks in, I think this is going to come to a head. I also think it was incredibly smart for the ACC to bring in Cal, Stanford, and SMU, because it keeps even if they lose Florida State and Clemson, they would still you have to have 15 in their contract. You have to have 15 teams. If I was the ACC, I would do a preemptive strike and I would reach out to Washington State and Oregon State and bring them into the ACC. They already have 2 former Pac-10, Pac-12 teams. They need travel partners anyway. I would bring Washington State and Oregon State in so that even if something crazy happens and they lose Florida State, they lose Clemson, and North Carolina and let's say North Carolina and Miami, they all go, that conference can still stay together, kind of like what the Big 12 has done. I think the smart thing is to do a preemptive strike and be prepared for what could happen. Don't be reactive, because right now I feel like they're being more reactive. Hey, Florida State is threatening to sue us, so we're going to take them to court. Oh, Clemson is suing us, so the next day we're going to sue them. They need to get ahead of this thing. They're going to, when this is all said and done, whether it's by a boatload of money Florida State and Clemson's going to pay, or a judge going to rule in their favor, they're losing 2 to 4 teams. They should replace those 2 to 4 teams now. They have 3. Go in, bring in Washington State and Oregon State, because you could easily have Florida State, Miami, Clemson, North Carolina, and maybe Virginia. Virginia's another team that everyone has been talking about that could fall right into the Big Ten. You would automatically have replacements for those guys. So it keeps you in a place of strength instead of being, kind of like the Pac-12, who was just trying to salvage the brand. So that's my overall take on that one.
Yeah, it seems like Clemson thought, since FSU is filing, then that means that we can try and get away with stuff as well in filing.
Well, I think when they agreed to the college football playoff money, that was the straw that broke the camel's back.
Yeah.
That was the one where it was kind of like the ACC just rolled over and said, okay, SEC and the Big Ten are superior and we're a second tier organization. That's the way I looked at it as. And so we acknowledge that they are superior, and so they deserve more money, and we are lesser, so we deserve less money. That is the core problem that I think the ACC just created for themselves. I think the Big 12 kind of set in a situation where they're like, hey, we'll agree to this, but we want a clause in there so that if college realignment and things happen differently, we can go back and renegotiate this. And I think that was kind of like a coy but very smart move. Their approach is, we believe that the ACC is not long for this world. These guys are going to go, like I said, North Carolina, Virginia, Florida State, Clemson are going to go. And then we're going to gobble up the Pittsburghs, the Louisvilles, the Syracuses of the world, and maybe the Dukes and NC States of the world. And we're going to be a much larger conference. And then we're going to enact that clause so we can negotiate later to get more money. I felt like the Pac-12 was being smart. The Big Ten and SEC were being bullies. And the ACC is stuck in the middle. That's kind of the way I see it.
Yeah. Well,
does that make sense, though?
Yeah. I am sure that we will hear more about this maybe even tomorrow or later next week. I'm sure that let's
just give us the rest of this week off, and let's see what happens. Let's let it marinate a little bit. The college football does not slow down.
No, it does not. Not even a little bit. All right, guys. Well, with that, we are going to take a quick little break, and when we come back, we're going to be talking about Conor McGregor says UFC return versus Michael Chandler is set for this summer. So make sure you guys stay around.
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign.
I wanna be the greatest. Everybody on the fake shit. I look around and feel like everybody is the fakest. I make this every day and I'm impatient, hoping one day I blow up from the basement. Statement, the top is so vacant. I don't hear shit that I think is amazing. Waiting for my day when I'm playing sold out shows for 1,000 faces. Hey, give me that crown, get in my way and to be put down. It ain't your place, all this my town. If I want that shit, then I'll get it right now. I'm losing it, the noose it fits. I'm losing shit, a stupid myth. You choose to live or choose to dip. You choose to fight or lose your grip and lose a gift.
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind?
Alrighty, guys, welcome back. Earlier, we were discussing the ACC filing a countersuit against Clemson over grant of rights, and now we're going to be talking about Conor McGregor says UFC return versus Michael Chandler is set for this summer. But before we do that, I just wanted to remind you guys to like and follow the show. Also, we get a number of questions from viewers that come in during the show, so to ensure that your question gets read on the air, I ask that you use the tips and donation link with your question. That link is GSMCpodcast.net. Let's put your question at the top of the list so that I can see it, and it also just really helps the show. Alrighty.
Yes, ma'am.
So, Conor McGregor says UFC return to versus Michael Chandler is set for this summer. So Conor McGregor's long-awaited UFC return is set to take place against Michael Chandler soon, it appears. We got a confirmation a few days ago that it's all systems go. McGregor told ESPN on Tuesday. The Mac, the Notorious, will be returning to the UFC Octagon this summer. While the former two-division champion didn't offer a date, he made sure to address Chandler while discussing the fight. Chandler appeared on an episode of WWE Monday Night Raw last month and called McGregor out, screaming about their unfinished business. Since the UFC hasn't announced McGregor's return, it's also unclear where they'll fight or what the weight will be. In February of 2023, the Irish mixed martial arts claimed that he and Chandler would clash after they finished coaching against each other on season 31 of The Ultimate Fighter. Fans weren't given a date or weight until 11 months later when McGregor announced that the bout was scheduled for June 29th at UFC 303. So McGregor initially said they would fight at 185 pounds, which wouldn't have been a normal weight for either opponent. McGregor competed from 145 to 170 pounds for most of his career. Chandler's average weight is closer to 155 pounds, but he expressed his willingness to bulk up for the fight. The 37-year-old last fought in 2022, a loss to Dustin
Pedroia.
Yeah.
Dustin Pedroia, yes.
Pedroia, yeah.
Can't get that out to save my life today, is it? Okay. Okay. When this first was being talked about, when they were doing the Ultimate Fighter and things, I was kind of like, okay, it's an interesting fight, but I don't know. It just seems like Conor has been doing a lot more talking and a lot less fighting. I know that he broke his leg and he has been out, but he has not been a very active fighter. And I kind of feel like it is, a lot of UFC fans may disagree with me on this one. I think it's time for Conor to retire. I would like to see this be Conor's last fight. He hasn't really been an active fighter since before the Floyd Mayweather fight.
Right. And
it's kind of hard to be hungry to go to the gym when you made $50 million fighting Floyd Mayweather. Then you start, what are you going to say?
Also, he's kind of started an acting career as well, because he's doing a remade version of Roadhouse, which will be, it's an Amazon Prime movie. So I mean, normally when people start going into acting, they will soon retire after that, because I mean that's how the Rock Dwayne Johnson is. So
it doesn't, like, he went from fighting Floyd, starting Proper 12, selling Proper 12. He's traveling around the world. He's doing movies. He's doing everything but be a fighter.
Yeah.
And being a UFC fighter is not a part-time gig. It's not like The Rock coming in, hey, I'm going to show up for WrestleMania. I got to get in shape. I like to call it, I don't call wrestling fake. I call it choreographed violence, scripted violence, but it's scripted. The UFC is not scripted. You can't be a part-time fighter. When you look around and you look at Conor's last few fights, whether it's the two losses to Dustin Pedroia, Khabib, the loss to Khabib, even all the way back to Nate Diaz, Nate Diaz. He hasn't been winning very much. I think he's only beat Cowboy Cerrone in like the last 4 or 5 years. He's a celebrity fighter. He's a celebrity who is, once upon a time, was great, but I kind of feel like it is time for him to step away. Now, Michael Chandler is a beast and a stud fighter. had great success in Bellator and was a champion in Bellator, and has been an outright stud in the UFC. The big difference is I could see Conor having them fight at that 180 mark, which I think Conor, who hasn't been fighting for a long time, is just naturally the bigger man nowadays. Conor is naturally walking around at that 180, 190 weight, where Chandler is walking around at that 160, 170 weight. The weight does matter, but I don't see the activity in Conor McGregor as a good thing. It's a must-see fight. I'm definitely gonna watch the fight. If you'd have asked me some years ago, I would have definitely taken Conor McGregor, even though just because McGregor's just the taller, more craftier fighter, where, you know, Chandler's a lot more aggressive, very powerful, very strong. It would be a very interesting matchup. But now, with Conor being out for so long, with Conor having other distractions in the world, I don't really, I see this as Chandler's fight to win. I think Chandler's way more focused, way more dedicated. Chandler has pretty much said since The Ultimate Fighter, I'm not fighting until I get that McGregor fight. And he's only been focusing on Conor McGregor. Well, Conor's like, you know what? I got my Roadhouse movie. I got Proper 12. I'm doing this appearance. I'm doing this appearance. No offense, but I got a court case over here. I got a court case over here. Might got a little incident over here and there. There just seems like Conor has just gotten into a lot of distractions, which does not bode well for someone who is about to go into a ring. The other reason why it makes me wonder about this as well is this fight has been talked about for almost a year, over a year. The Ultimate Fighter was last year. And Chandler's been waiting on him. Okay, look, what about this date? What about this date? What about this date? UFC 300. Nope. Now it's going to be this summer. UFC 303. We don't know when it's going to be. Conor keeps slipping. You know, nothing has been locked in stone. Until I see the contract signed, them facing off, and Dana White saying the contract is the fight to go.
You know,
I can't. I don't know, because Conor is not the same Conor as he once was, where it's like, hey, I'm ready to fight. Let's go. I think it feels like Conor likes more of the limelight of people talking about him more than actually doing the fight game. I'm going to leave it there because I know we have a little bit more to talk about the UFC.
Yes. So, moving on from that, the UFC reaches a settlement in an antitrust lawsuits and agrees to pay out $335 million. So the TKA Group Holdings parent company of UFC has reached a settlement agreement in 2 antitrust lawsuits filed by former UFC fighters. The settlement, which was reached on March 13th, will see TKA Group pay out $335 million, according to an SEC filing. Zuffa,
you're right.
Okay, the predecessor entity that owned and operated UFC was a defendant in 5 related case action lawsuits filed between December 14th and March of 2015, which were consolidated into a single action in June of 2015. An additional lawsuit, Johnson versus Zuffa was filed in 2021. The lawsuits alleged Zuffa violated antitrust laws by paying UFC fighters far less than they were entitled to receive and eliminating or hurting other MMA promoters, according to Variety. UFC fighters Chung Lee, Nate Quarry, and John Fitch filed their initial complaint against Zuffa in federal court in California in December. Zuffa, excuse me. And federal court in California in December of 2014 that was subsequently joined by fighters Brandon Vera, Luis Javier Vasquez, and Kyle Kingsbury. On June 23, 2021, Kyan Johnson and CB Dalloway filed a proposed class action antitrust lawsuit against Zuffa and Endeavor, which similar allegations that UFC engaged in illegal anti-competitive action. Whew, that was a mouthful.
And you didn't even have any of the hard names. When you start getting to some of the Brazilian fighters or some of the European fighters, you got to say Joanna Jędrzejczyk and Bej Correia and Valentina Shevchenko and all of that. That's when you have some issues. This was interesting. I think it's incredibly smart by the UFC to settle this. The original lawsuit, I believe, don't quote me on the exact number, but they were really suing for like 1.6 billion or something like that.
Yes.
Ooh, I got the number in my head there. That's nice.
Yeah.
I'm not a judge. I'm not a lawyer on this one, but there was some valid points to this. The UFC was the biggest, baddest organization in mixed martial arts, which made it almost impossible for other organizations to compete on their level. Bellator struggled. Eventually, they just got bought out by PFL. PFL's not quite not on the level with the UFC. One Championship is not on the level with the UFC. And those are the big guys. Where you start talking about little organizations like Panda Fighting and Legacy Fighting and things of that nature, those guys can't compete on that same level. And because of that, they are claiming that the UFC paid their fighters a lot less than they should have been paying them. I don't know if a judge would have ruled in favor of them either way, but all you need is one judge to say yes. And next thing you know, the UFC is writing a $1.6 billion check, if not larger. This lawsuit, this settlement encompasses over 1,000 fighters, doesn't it? I think it covers
1,200, approximately 1,200.
Right. So for one check of $350 million, it takes out this entire lawsuit. It can never come back again. There's no judgment against the UFC for wrongdoing. And instead of them worrying about a 1.6 billion, they 355 million. They settle up with all those fighters. The fighters get their pay, they go away, everyone's happy, and they get to move on. It was an incredibly, I think, incredibly smart move. When you look at a situation, you're saying 355 million is a lot of money, not to a multi-billion-dollar organization where their television contract is worth billions upon billions. Signing the check for 355 million to make it go away for 1,200 fighters to just shut up and go away, not risk losing a lawsuit where more people could pile on. It's just done and over with. I thought as far as that goes, incredibly smart move because they get no blame, but the fighters get a check. There's a lot of fighters that struggle, and now, they'll get something, and so this one's, I feel like it's a win-win. You figure of that 355 million, let's say 200 million is going to go to the fighters, 150 is going to go to the lawyers, but they'll get something, and that's a plus. So that's all I have on that one. I just wanted to cover that one as well.
Yeah. Fits
within our segment.
Well, I mean, it's better than paying $1.6 billion. Good for them for trying to get out of that a little bit.
All right.
Yeah. All right, guys. Well, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to be discussing France plan to start Victor Wembanyama, Joel Embiid, and Rudy Gobert for the 2024 Paris Olympics. So make sure you guys stick around.
For the best and latest podcasts available anywhere, go to the podcast app on your cell phone and type in GSMC to access free content-rich podcasts on health and wellness, book reviews, sports, entertainment, relationships, social media, movies, technology, finance, and even weird news. Subscribe and download the GSMC Podcast Network's family of shows, available everywhere podcasts are found.
Alrighty, guys, welcome back. Earlier, we were discussing Conor McGregor returning to the ring with Michael Chandler. Then we also touched on the UFC reaching a settlement in antitrust lawsuits and agreed to pay out $335 million. And now we're going to be talking about France plan to start Victor Wembanyama, Joel Embiid, and Rudy Gobert for the 2024 Paris Olympics. I feel like when are the Olympics? They're pretty soon, right?
Oh, you know what? Yes, because I just found out that some friends of mine are going to the Olympics, and then it hit me. I'm like, oh my God, the Olympics are just over that way.
Yeah.
And so it's coming up soon. I didn't realize that until some friends told me this. So I got to start figuring out how to get to the Olympics, because I want to go to the Olympics this year.
Yeah.
So was not, and this kind of story just kind of reminded me again, hey, you forgot about the Olympics again. You got to get on top of that, because
yeah,
a brother wants to go to the Olympics. I think they're in Paris, right?
Yes. Oui.
Paris is an interesting place. France is an interesting place in general, but the Olympics in Paris I think that'd be awesome. And it's easy to get to Paris here. Like, you can literally, this won't be during Olympic times. You won't be getting these prices, but when you're flying in Europe, like, you guys don't understand how awesome it is to live in Europe, because, like, if I want to go to Paris, a round trip ticket for me can be $30, 30 euros.
$30? That's insane.
Round trip. You can get, I have friends of mine, they flew in from London, round trip ticket was like 20 euros, which is about $21, $22 round trip. Being able to get around Europe is so easy. Imagine if you're in Georgia and someone said to you, hey, for $30, you can get a round trip ticket to Chicago. You'd be going to Chicago more often, wouldn't you?
Maybe not Chicago, but yeah, somewhere else.
Chicago is awesome. But
Parts of it.
well, like a lot of places, parts of it can be not so great.
Yeah.
Like I'm gonna pull up this just because I'm just curious because I do this all the time because flights can be so crazy here. Let's see, I pull up my little trusty app. I'm exploring. Let's pick me an airport. Let's see, I'm gonna fly out of my Faro airport here. And I'm doing this, but you can't see this that well. But it says round trip ticket right now. I have $13 to the UK, 16 to London, 16 to Morocco, 18 euros to Ireland, 19 euros to France, and then Austria and Luxembourg are 22 euros, and also, Italy's 24. These are round trip tickets.
Must be nice.
And that is one of the things I do love about living here is being able to do these kind of flights and go to places. So when I hear that the Olympics are going to be in Paris, it's like, oh yeah, I gotta go.
Yeah.
You know, even if it's just for the day or two or so, just to go. Now, let's talk about this story. I saw this story and I'm a little confused.
Yeah.
And that is Joel Embiid, he's not from France, is he?
That's what I gathered from reading this, so I didn't understand. He declined, though, I think. It says, despite France's efforts to promise of playing for his home country, Embiid ultimately chose to represent the USA. But home country is in quotes, so I don't know.
Yeah, because when I saw that, I'm like, wait a minute. If I'm like, they could put together a French dream team all of a sudden. If that's true, Rudy Gobert, Victor Wembanyama, and Joel Embiid, that's a team USA would have some problems with that team.
Yeah. Let me see.
They would have some major. So that's the first thing was I was surprised that could even be done.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know.
So what are you able to, did you see where he's from?
Cameroonian.
Right.
So he's
Cameroon. I guess maybe is it because is Cameroon part of like one of the colonies that used to be
his nationality? It says Cameroonian, French, and American. So
maybe you have it. Maybe because I know France has.
Really?
I don't know if they're colonies, but territories and things. A lot of them are in Africa, a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And, so maybe that makes him partially a French citizen. Boy, that would be, I'm kind of disappointed that they won't do it because that would make the Olympics interesting.
Yeah.
If you're like, you got LeBron and all those guys come in to play for Team USA, and they come, and this is the year everyone wants to come in and regulate and show Team USA's dominance on international basketball. And then Team France comes in there with Rudy Gobert, Victor Wembanyama, and Joel Embiid.
Yeah.
Man, that'd be the best gold medal round ever. I would be all about that. But I was more confused. What else does it say in there about this? They say he turned it down?
Yeah, he turned it down. Reading this was confusing because it said the decision had to be made before the October 10th deadline to be set by French basketball authorities. So, I don't know if any of these players are going to be playing for France. That's what I don't understand.
I don't understand the Olympic rules in general. I remember when Lennox Lewis uh, fought in the Olympics. He was born in like Jamaica or somewhere in the islands. He was a British citizen. He was fighting for Canada, and I was like, wait, how the heck does this work? And I think they're fast and loose at what country you can play for.
Yeah.
I like if I feel like whatever country you were born in, that's the country that you play in, but it's not necessarily true because it's kind of like I'm born in the US, but I live in Portugal. So if I was a world-class athlete, I am not. So I could play for Team USA or Team Portugal. Technically, I guess I could. I'm a resident of Portugal. I'm a citizen of the US. So I guess technically, I guess if you can do that, it's fair game.
Oh,
So
okay.
Okay, here you go.
Victor Wembanyama, I believe, is playing
He's from
for
France.
Yeah, I
Yes,
think
he's
playing
French.
For France. Yeah. I don't know. I was so confused reading all of this because
Yes.
what I didn't understand is because the Olympics are soon, and I was like, why is this story coming out now? Have they not figured out who's gonna be playing on their team? Isn't it like 3 months away? Why do we not know?
How sad is it that it's in my backyard and I didn't even realize that it's coming up that soon.
Yeah. In June,
I have-
July.
And see, I could be just totally not going to get a shot at going to the Olympics because of just paying attention, just starting to pay attention to it. I've made no reservation. I've not looked at tickets, nothing. I just know it's close and I got friends that are going.
Yeah.
So I'm going to try to figure out how I can go.
I'm
So
jealous.
we'll see. We'll see how it's going. Especially Paris is going to be hopping. Imagine Paris is a fun place in general, beautiful place, but you mix the Olympics in there, and that's going to be a madhouse.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to figure out how to at least get me people. I need one day in Paris for the Olympics. So keep the fingers crossed.
I wonder if they're gonna clean up Paris.
Ooh, yeah. You know about all the protests and all the
Yeah,
stuff going on
yeah.
there, man. They
Trash all in the road.
guys, when the French when they protest, it's next level. It is next level.
Yeah.
They're going around with tanks of sludge, of animal sludge, spraying it everywhere. They're dropping stuff everywhere. But the French, they'll clean that place up. It'll look amazing. You won't even realize that there was sludge on that wall just 2 days ago. No, the farmers have been protesting some changes to their benefits, and so that's been going on in Germany and in France. At least it was going on. I don't know if it's still going on, but man, they were dropping like tractors full of animal waste and sludge and hay and all kind of trash and everything all over Paris, all over France in general, blocking roads. So hopefully they could not, you can't have the Olympics and all that's going on. So they're gonna get that taken care of, I would imagine. or we're gonna have one interesting Olympics.
Yeah. So all that I know is Wembanyama will be playing for France. I don't think Rudy Gobert will be playing in the Olympics at all.
I don't know. I don't even know where Rudy Gobert is from, but he sounds like he could be from France as well.
Yeah, and then Joel Embiid wants to play for the United States. So
that's awesome. Provided he's healthy. He's kind of out right now
Yeah.
with an injury.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm the Sixers, I don't know if I want him playing the Olympics. I'm like, hey, why don't you slow your
Chill
roll,
out, breathe.
take some time off?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Injuries. He's been an injury-prone player as it is.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I'm the 76ers, I want him playing Team USA, Team Cameroon, Team France. None of them. Yes, exactly.
Honestly,
All right.
this was the first time I found out. I didn't know basketball was even played at the Olympics. I didn't
What?
know that. I didn't know that.
Wait. You've heard of the Dream Team, right?
No. I'm fired.
Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, y'all send y'all's resume in for the new host position that just opened up.
I'm more of a Winter Olympics person. I like watching figure skating and snowboarding and skiing and all of that. So
But
I don't really watch Summer Olympics.
But the Dream Team is the biggest team in Olympic history.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone knows the Dream Team. It's the USA hockey team, the Dream Team, Mary Lou Retton, those guys. Do you even know who Mary Lou Retton is?
No.
Wow, that is crazy. That is nuts. Simone Biles, do you know who she is?
Who?
Simone Biles. I think it's
I know who Simone Biles is. Yeah.
Well, Mary Lou Retton was her way before she.
Oh.
Okay. The fact that you don't even know that's just
Sorry.
for us. For us
Sports is
older
not
crew.
my background.
This is Olympics. You just said you love Winter Olympics, but
Yeah, because I like watching the figure skating. Figure skating's fun to watch.
all
I'm a
right.
big figure skater fan. Anyway, though.
Resumes. Start sending them, everyone. No, I'm just joking.
All right, guys.
I'm taking faith all the way to the end.
Yeah.
I'm not getting rid of no faith. I have faith in
I now
faith.
know. I'm sorry. Alrighty, guys. Well, with that, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to dive into our oddities of the day. So make sure you stick around, and we'll see you in a second. Alrighty, guys, welcome back. Earlier, we were discussing France had planned to start Victor Wembanyama, Joel Embiid, and Rudy Gobert for the 2024 Paris Olympics. And now, as always, at the end of the show, we'll be diving into our oddities of the day. This one is pretty extreme.
Oh,
extreme.
Okay.
When I read this one, I was like, oh my gosh. It's interesting story though. So a student persuaded by his friend to get his legs amputated for a $1.3 million insurance scam wound up only getting $7,200 that he now has to return.
What? Okay, fire away.
So, a university student in Taiwan who had his legs amputated in hopes of receiving a $1.3 million insurance payout has been arrested on suspicion of fraud. The 23-year-old, only identified by his last name Zhang, plunged his feet into a bucket of dry ice for more than 10 hours to get them so badly frostbitten that he would need a double amputation. The bureau, the Taiwan Criminal Investigation Bureau, said a friend of Zhang's from high school, identified only as Liao, persuaded him to carry out the insurance scam.
Liao, that hurts.
Liao, also 23, suffered losses from trading cryptocurrency, and he tricked Zhang into signing a legal note obliging him to pay about $800,000. The local media outlet Taiwan News reported that Liao told Zhang that gangsters were pursuing him. On January 26, 2023, Liao and Zhang rode around Taipei on a motorbike at night, wanting to present the claim that Zhang was afflicted with frostbite while riding the vehicle in the late evening. Just days before, Zhang bought several expensive policies for life insurance, travel insurance, and accident insurance. After their motorbike ride, Zhang soaked his feet in dry ice and was admitted to the hospital, but the medical staff sensed something was amiss while assessing him. His legs bore no shoe or sock marks, and his injuries appeared symmetrical, which were inconsistent with a naturally occurring frostbite injury. The weather on the night of January 26 was also nowhere close to below freezing, and its coldest temperature was about 42 degrees Fahrenheit. So, and
this guy's a fool. There are in the court of fools. There are court jesters, there's dupes, there's princes, and then there is the king of all fools. Mm-hmm. This guy is the king of all fools.
Yeah. So
first off, it can't be 79 degrees and you're like, oh, my legs froze off. They froze off. Yeah. They're in the back over there.
Come
on.
Is such an extreme measure to get money because you don't have any legs anymore. What are you going to do now? You don't have any legs. Both of your legs are gone.
Well, he doesn't have any brains either. Okay. Listen, why not sell a kidney? Get you a kidney, sell you a kidney, get you a little cheddar that way. Mm-hmm. I'm sorry. My buddy, he done lost his money on crypto. He may not be the smartest guy to take advice from. No. I got it. Hey, Faith, how about you dip your legs in dry ice for 10 hours? And, we're going to go get the insurance policies today. We're going to freeze your legs off tomorrow.
Yeah.
These are called dumb criminals.
Dumb's ways to die.
Listen, if I'm pulling this scam off, I'm saying you buy the policy, keep it for 6 months to 2 years.
Wait a little bit.
Yeah, don't foul. Don't sign your name today, freeze your legs off tomorrow. It don't work that way.
Yeah.
Second of all, if you're going to go ride your bike, don't be in Southeast Asia where it's warm.
Yeah, it was only 42 degrees outside.
Let's say, hey, we decided to go hike across Siberia, and this is what happened. Now we got to file for our claim. We didn't make it across Siberia. We're going to hike a mountain. We're hiking Mount Everest and my legs fell off. It can't be, you over there soaking your legs in dry ice and there's a lady in a two-piece bikini laying out getting a tan right next to you, homie. That doesn't work.
Yeah.
That's called being a fool. Mm-hmm. Am I wrong?
No, you're not wrong. You're not wrong at all.
Come on. Now, look, homie, you're going to jail. While in jail, you're not going to be able to run from none of those guys because you have no legs.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You broke, you're in jail, and you have no legs. And homie that told you to do this, he probably in jail too, but he's not going to be in your cell. You're by yourself. You've ruined your life. You are the king of all fools.
Yeah.
Am I right on that one?
You're absolutely right. When I was reading this story, I was like, ain't no way. I would never be that broke. One, like, I would never be so broke that I would be dumb enough to stick my legs in dry ice for 10 hours to get them amputated in hopes that I'm going to get some insurance money.
See, there's people out there, Faith, listening to this and saying, you just haven't been broke enough. That's
Yes,
what
I
it comes
have.
down.
Yes,
You
I
know.
have. Yes, I have. I remember vividly about 2 years ago.
We don't need,
was-
don't put
I was
people's
just eating
business down the
ramen.
street.
I was just eating ramen. That was all I was eating. I've been pretty broke.
But, there are levels to being poor. And, in a society where maybe I don't want to pass judgment on how poor he was, but I get it. But think, your biggest weapon you have is your brain.
Yeah.
Don't be in a tropical climate thinking I'm going to soak in dry ice so that and my claim is after soaking my legs in dry ice for 10 hours, I was just riding on my bike and my legs got frostbite. Not possible. It's not possible to get frostbite to that level. A guy that I know, unfortunately, when I went back home, I ran into him. He was having a little fun and he passed out, and outside his hands froze and they had to amputate his hands. That is a painful way to go. And there's no growing hands back. There's no growing legs back.
Yeah. That's permanent. That's a permanent thing that you have to deal with for the rest of your life.
I don't take light on people losing limbs because it's life changing and things. But man, you gotta, especially when you're thinking about things, you gotta think like, okay, what part of this plan made sense to you? I'm gonna buy it. It's Tuesday. I'm calling Allstate today. We can freeze your legs off tomorrow.
Yeah.
You got to put something. You got to put some thought into it. Criminals. The police don't solve crimes. Criminals just tell on themselves. Sometimes I respect the police, and so I want to make sure you understand that. I'm just saying, a lot of criminals are not the smartest people in the world. And I say in the world because this is a global thing. Yeah. Sticking your legs in a bucket of dry ice is the dumbest thing I have ever heard of. Of anything that you have ever brought to me on this show, sticking my legs in dry ice may be king of all of them. Do you understand what level of pain that would be?
You would never catch me doing that.
And you had to do it for 10 hours. So hour one, all right, Tate, you need to stick your leg in there. I stick my pinky toe in there and it's like, oh, hell no, nope. But Tate, we got these policies. How much is he getting?
He tried to get, what was it?
1.8 million?
He tried to get 1.3 million, and then he only ended up getting 7,200, but then had to return it and was arrested for fraud.
Actually, he's probably at a loss. He got medical bills to pay and everything else, plus legal fees. He's $1.8 million in the hole on medical bills and legal fees. This dude made a big mistake. I don't understand it. I mean, I think about that. Faith, I can't even get in the water here most times. It's too cold for me.
Right. Like,
and it's it's 70.
When you get like cold, at least for me, when I get cold, my bones will start to ache, and I'll just be like I'll be painful all over depending on how cold it is outside. Like, you just feel I feel like an old lady when I get too cold.
Now think about that. 10 hours into this, at some point, he should have, when you stuck that first pinky toe in the water and jumped out, like, oh, let me start thinking about this. Man, he just bought these policies. At least give it 60 days. 60 days of policies.
Yeah.
There's nothing about this. None of these guys are going to Cambridge or Harvard or Yale or Oxford.
This guy needs some new friends, because the fact that his friend convinced him to do this and told him that somebody was after him because of a certain amount of money that he spent, and told him that this was the best way to do this.
But you understand, guys and your buddies will talk them into doing some of the dumbest things ever. They will. There's a line of story.
There's a line. A good friend will
don't freeze your legs off.
Yeah, won't make you freeze your legs off. There's a line. I understand guys do funny things, that can be somewhat dangerous to your health, but not to the extent of convincing you to put your legs in dry ice for 10 hours. Because you lost some money with cryptocurrency. Like, I don't...
Ooh. Man. I don't know. I'm sorry. That one I can't get behind. No. We are no longer friends. If you come to me, Faith, and you're like, you know what, Tate? I know how we can get the show going. I want to stick your legs in dry ice while we do the show. We're parting ways. We're just parting ways. We're not friends anymore.
Think of all the views.
Think of the views.
Think of the views.
Yeah. I mean, that would have been a better option for him than that. Hey, I'm setting up a webcam. My buddy's going to stick his legs in water or something like that. Not telling anyone to do that. Do not do this.
No, don't do that. Don't do that.
This is the most foolish thing you can do on the planet. So, ultimately, just bad decision. We're gonna leave on don't do dumb things, and don't have dumb friends who talk you into doing dumb things. That's my public service announcement.
Every decision you make has
there's consequences and repercussions. And his consequences and repercussions is he don't have legs, he's in prison, and he's broke.
Yep. Don't do it, guys. Alrighty. Well, with that, we're going to close out the show. Thank you guys so much for tuning into the Andrew Tate Show, presented by the GSMC Sports Network. Your support means a lot to us, so please remember to subscribe to the show and leave a positive review. It really does make a difference. We also invite you to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram for more content updates. Thank you once again. Have a wonderful day, and we'll see you tomorrow. Peace.
Don't freeze your legs off.
Don't do it.
Let's go. I wake up to a little bit of drool on my pillow, feel like it's gonna be a bad day. Yeah, I'm tired of shit, and the coffee ain't hit yet, damn, ain't that great.